I think you have heard a lot now, and I would like to ask you something now. I mean, I have been writing about cloud for a while now, and I want to ask you this. How many of you are actually confused about which cloud model or vendor works for you best? Because cloud is not an one size fits all kind of a thing, right? So, how many of you all have some doubts here? Yeah, so for those I believe who have some doubts here, this session is going to be really interesting because the next speaker, Mr. Jayabalan Subramania, CTO and co-founder of NetMagic, will talk about moving to the cloud and what works best for you. Cloud infrastructure as a service throws open a lot of options to choose from when an enterprise is planning its IT infrastructure growth. Even with all the dark clouds floating around the security aspect, an enterprise cannot ignore embracing and leveraging the power of the cloud. Learn how an enterprise can evaluate what cloud model can best work for you, and how an enterprise can go about embracing and enjoying the true power of the cloud. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Jayabalan Subramania.
Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a very, very tough time for me, staying between you and lunch. Trust me, I will ensure that I don't stand between you and lunch, but just give me my time. Okay, LS spoke truly as an evangelist, urging everybody that cloud is easy, you can move on. Yeah, moving to the cloud is easy, but I'd like to put across some slides so it'll help you understand where there may be pain points or which may be a better approach. NetMagic as a company has been into providing infrastructure as a service, both the physical infrastructure as a service and the virtual infrastructure as a service. Today we call it the cloud. So there's been a debate even in cloud because some people think whatever goes into a third-party data center itself is cloud. And now everything is cloud washed, so any service that is offered is called as a cloud-based service, right? I didn't have the advantage or the liberty of looking at presentations given earlier, so there may be some slides which are talking about the benefits and all kinds of things. So I'm going to just run through those and place more emphasis on some of the things that you may have to consider before you start adopting cloud services. Enough has been said. There's enough growth potential. Double-digit growth predicted for the next 5 years, and SaaS is going to be an important contributor. And India has enough opportunities, being in the emerging markets. IT evolution, we all know, moving from mainframe to the client-server model to now the cloud computing. Each of it has its own benefits. Of course, when you talk about cloud, you're talking about always on, commodity hardware being used to deliver services, distributed, which is very important. Today, economies are globalized. People can work from anywhere with any device, self-service. So cloud has its own benefits. Enough challenges for the CIO. I don't need to talk much. Today, it's no more a fulfillment job. You are looking at providing value to the business. I mean, not only value, increasing the revenue. And in the long term, the CIO is expected to help in the company increasing its revenue, not anymore just fulfilling and keeping the data center on and running, much more than that. A lot of things have been talked about cloud, what works in the cloud, and some of the challenges that the cloud helps to address. Recently, you all must be hearing about big data, which is, I think, a buzzword for the last couple of years. And it's also coincided with the rise in cloud computing. The large unstructured data that companies, especially large internet companies, have to deal with today, I don't think is well suited to be handled by the traditional tools like a relational database management system. So the large internet companies, I think, have pioneered some solutions, created some frameworks to to deal with this unstructured data like Facebook updates or web pages, text, tweets. How do you handle all these kind of? So they've tried certain methodologies and over a period of time, and some of them have been consolidated, which does not use any SQL, no SQL, uses distributed processing systems, and similar things, but mostly centered around parallel processing, which goes well with virtualization and cloud computing. So that's something which is caught the eye. So a lot of people who have big data will definitely look at what are the tools that are available and how cloud can be used to, handle that kind of data. Application modernization, consumerization of IT, everything has been talked about earlier. Today, the problem is, we are just trying to map what we've been using in our IT environments to cloud computing as though it just pick and choose and move. To take true benefit of cloud, one has to architect an application which will use the benefits that the cloud has to offer today, which is agility, dynamism, auto scalability, on demand, and all kinds of things. So I don't think an application which was architected some years ago and is being used today can straight away, take those benefits. Of course, you do get the benefits of virtualization and efficiency. So people who are moving today probably are using cloud as a tool to, kind of bring in efficiency and, save on the hardware costs, have an OpEx-based approach, etc. So if you see what cloud computing today is built on is, of course, virtualization is one. And then automation is the other major component of it. It, of course, allows you to get enormous amounts of flexibility. If you take a traditional approach versus cloud computing, traditional approach, you have all physical hardware, which means you have to source the hardware from somewhere. It takes its own sweet time. Delivery times have never reduced. Even today, you try ordering a server, you will not get it before 4 or 6 weeks. And then you'll have to physically mount the server, bring it up to a certain level, patch, etc. So starting off something new is not very, very easy, right? It takes a lot of time. But in today's global economy where the window is very, very short, where you have to get up and running, make use of the opportunity that is available, make a killing, and then you may have to exit it. So you can't have hardware which is, for example, I keep telling this very often, does Hallmark, which is a greeting card company, build its infrastructure for the entire year, or does it build its infrastructure for Feb 14, Valentine's Day? Either way, they'll be wrong. If they build for the entire year, their IT infrastructure may not be able to handle the Feb 14 load. And if they build for Feb 14, the entire year, the hardware, excess hardware will just be lying unused, right? So that's where the dynamism comes in. So if you look at traditional hardware, traditional approach versus this, traditional is more fixed. Applications are on the desktop. Users are generally fixed. And then it's more CapEx oriented. Exactly, if you see cloud is talking about virtualized, very, very efficient because you're going to add capacity only if the entire CPU is used and the memory, everything is consumed, because today you can look at how loads are and move around the workloads across the available infrastructure. And people can access it from anywhere, distributed, right? Today have content delivery networks which are sitting across the globe, which can bring in the application user experience closer to the user with WAN acceleration and things like that built into the delivery mechanism. I talked about the cloud. Cloud initially, the way I understood cloud was anything that was delivered out using internet as a service and then consumed using internet. But I think it's got expanded and people brought in, CloudWatch and all kinds of things, and everything and anything started to being associated with cloud. So anything that was done within one's own data center was called as a private cloud. And then you had the hybrid cloud, because then they figured out that the existing applications, certain applications don't work well in a virtualized environment. So they had to keep those running on the traditional physical hardware. So the ones which could be virtualized were running on what they call a cloud. So then when you make these two talk, they call it the hybrid cloud. So if you look at what could potentially be used, public, hybrid, and private cloud, public cloud applications like CRM or security as a service where proxy as a service is available, like a Zscaler where you don't anymore need to have your own proxy servers in each and every distributed office. You have a proxy on the web, and then every end user, whether it's a mobile device or anything, is controlled by a central policy, and then they're able to deliver. So public cloud, you have CRM, HR, all kinds of things on the public cloud, and the infrastructure as a service offering where you get virtual machines. I mean, pretty much everything that you could get from a physical world, whether it's a load balancer or a switch or a server, storage, NAS, SAN, everything is virtually available today, which means you can pretty much build mimicked physical infrastructure on an infrastructure as a service platform. Hybrid cloud, we all knew about. So public cloud, if you want infinite scalability, then you're looking at public cloud, and if you're not too concerned about regulatory compliances and things like that. Private cloud, of course, for the enterprises who are more concerned about data governance, I'm not clear, Maybe today everything is available even in the public cloud, but they're not clear how the compliances work, or probably the compliance organizations have not upgraded themselves to be able to comply, applications running out of a public cloud. So they then start off with private cloud, because today to move to cloud, the first step is to consolidate and then to virtualize, and then you're talking about cloud. So private cloud, and then there may be, so that's generally if the load is very, very consistent, it's not varying too much, then a private cloud is fine. Hybrid cloud is where you have instant demands, where generally the private cloud is able to take care of most of the requirements, but potentially there are demands only during once in a while where they may have to add additional load, so they can then go into the public cloud, use up the public cloud only for the short duration of time, and then release it, so that even from a monetary perspective, they are well off. I'm not going to talk too much about it. This goes for any outsourcing consideration, cost, control, performance, scalability, security. It goes for anything that you outsource. You will have to probably go through all these factors. But one thing from a cloud service I would like to mention is that today, cloud service providers, there are only purely cloud service providers, and there are service providers who've been there in this business, in the business of IT outsourcing for a long time, who also jumped into this thing, offering their own versions of cloud computing services. So the advantage with that kind of approach, for example, if I take NetMagic, we've been there for like a 14-year-old company offering managed hosting services with our own data centers. The advantage is, the people who have been running their applications traditionally now have an option where only certain loads which they need to move to the cloud can be moved, whereas things which can't move to the virtualized environment can still run on a dedicated environment, and we provide that infrastructure which allows you to connect both of these. Whereas in a traditional cloud service provider, I think it's a pure cloud, so everything is virtual. So if you're architecting an application is absolutely greenfield, starting off from scratch, you can probably go with anybody, okay? But there are also situations where the service provider today, some of them, cloud service providers, offers even support which is virtual, which means you only can have a chat or email support. You'll never be able to call somebody. A traditional service provider like the one, he has a support numbers where you can actually talk to a person. We can come sit with you, discuss your existing applications, see what can move, what cannot move, how it can work with the security, because security is a very generalized thing and it varies from people to people, company to company. Because I do a lot of data center tours when people come to look at the data centers where they potentially host their infrastructure. And every one of them has a completely different approach towards security. Some of them are only concerned about perimeter security. Some of them are only concerned about logical security. All kinds of things. So it depends on the applications and the risk assessment and the potential threats that you are likely to face, right? I cannot go and say, if my security threat is very, very limited, I can't go and, just for the sake of asking questions, I can't say, oh, what happens if there is a nuclear missile hitting the data center? Obviously, certain data centers are built only benchmarking certain risks in mind. Of course, there are data centers in the world which even provide you with that kind of commitment where they say even a nuclear strike will not affect the data center. But then you'll have to be willing to pay that kind of money. So security is again perception based and it will vary from people to people. So I always urge people that do not fit any technology just for the sake of using technology. Have a governance model, look at your entire IT requirements, look at your business requirements, see how the different technologies fit into your business requirements and your IT requirements. Do not pick and choose and use it as tools only for doing certain things, because it may not give you the true benefit that you are looking out for. So when you move to the cloud, the best approach that we recommend is look at all the workloads that are available and then choose candidate workloads which are likely to be successful when moving to a cloud, right? So what are those workloads which generally, and what are the questions and what are the workloads that generally would be more suitable to moving to the cloud? Generally workloads which are well defined, which are modular, and which have very, very few interfaces are well suited. Whereas workloads and applications which are running on non-x86 platform and which are legacy may not be well suited to move. You may have to ask questions like, who is using this? What is the risk to the business? How important is this workload or application to the business? What is the workflow involved? Where is the data originating? Where all it needs to go? Is it inside the organization? Is it also external to the organization? So many questions need to be asked before you actually, and what are the compliance requirements? Does this workload or application needs any compliance or regulatory things that need to be satisfied with? So these questions need to be asked. Once you have identified all these things and then say, okay, these are some of the workloads that can potentially be moved, then you apply the economic filter, right? Then you look at which are cheaper, whether public cloud is cheaper, private cloud is cheaper, hybrid approach is better. So you apply the economic filter. Then you apply the trust filter. Trust filter is where you look at all the, the security, the risk, the compliances, everything. And then once you've decided, okay, these are the things I can potentially move because today it seems more safer. I will not get into any complex situation with compliance and other things. Then you are looking at the functional filter. Functional filters, will I lose anything by moving this application to the cloud? Potentially you should gain something. If you're going to lose an existing function, then that also, so that way you will figure out, going through this approach, that only certain things are actually working on the cloud, and then certain things will need either re-architecting or a different approach. So this I'm not going to go through. This is covered in the earlier slide itself. So from although LS talked about a lot of applications that move to the cloud, I'm talking more from a first-hand experience of kind of customers who've moved into our cloud offering, infrastructure as a service. Portals, straight fit. I mean, what I call as internet-centric enterprises, right? If you see internet-centric enterprises, the potential internet users, all the potential internet users can potentially be their users, which means the hallmark kind of situation can occur. So they really benefit by using the cloud because you never know, like a media company or somebody, because of a sensitive event occurring or a flash news occurring, you need to be able to scale dynamically at that instant and then scale down, right? So the auto-scaling, dynamic auto-scaling feature is very, very important. E-commerce, we've seen a lot of online retail companies hosting with us. And there have been like trading companies, online trading companies, the user-facing components, which as the number of users increase, they need more front-end instances. So they then spin up more instances as the number of users increase, depending on if the day is good and a lot of people are trading, then you need more instances. So those kind of people have used it. We've seen SAP environments being hosted in our infrastructure as a service offering. Storage solutions are available today. As I told you, we have object storage available. We have SAN, virtual NAS. All those things are available in the cloud today. DR is no longer confined to discussions and paper. Today it is a must-have, not a nice-to-have anymore. So with the cloud coming in, the advantage is you just build minimum functionality in the cloud, and then whenever you want to exercise a test or you actually want to invoke a DR situation, you then scale dynamically. So you only pay for that additional amount when you actually are running the DR. So a lot of people are interested in this. We've done some of our applications, our own internal NetMagic applications, DR is running on the cloud. And then today I told you cloud is mostly being used as a tool for meeting certain benefits, right? The true benefit of cloud will be only when you're able to use while developing or re-architecting or creating a new application to work on the cloud. So what does that mean? Today, infrastructure as service has been available for a long time. What is infrastructure as service? I can give you a server and an OpEx model, a dedicated physical server, and that's been there for ages. I mean, almost 15 years before it's been there. So even that's infrastructure as service, right? So what is infrastructure as service different here? It's virtualized, number one, and the cost is very, very low, and it can move from one location to another. You don't know where exactly the location is. But even more important is it comes with an API, which means the application can actually talk to the infrastructure. So sometimes infrastructure service and cloud is also called as data center with an API. So the true benefits of cloud computing will be possible only if you can, during developing a new application, use the API. For example, let's say I have an application. It needs more resources, not always, but only whenever it is needed, like a media company I talked about, right? So you set up thresholds. The application, when it hits the threshold, what you can do with the virtualization today is the physical layer is abstracted from the application layer. So you can actually create templates, right? So you've created templates which will be needed only on an as-need basis. So what you do, you created those templates, and then when the threshold is hit, you go and call those templates. So the templates will boot up, and then that can be brought into the IT infrastructure serving the clients or customers, right? So that's only possible when you're re-architecting the application, for example. So that's where ISVs will have to take that call of starting to developing their applications on the cloud, so they understand how cloud works. The problem here is, of course, you have to avoid vendor lock-ins because the APIs may be proprietary. But today, I think there is an effort that Amazon, being the front runner, everybody tries to mimic their API or keep it as close as possible to Amazon, so that even if you're running on Amazon, you can easily move to a cloud provider who has similar APIs. Platform as a service, again, is for people who are developing something new. So the platform as a service takes care of this talking to the infrastructure layer, so allows the application developers to straight away start developing without worrying about, oh, I need to spin up more resources, etc. That layer is taken care by platform as a service provider. So he provides you with an environment which may have a SQL, which may have already an underlying platform, the development environment built in. You straight away start developing your application or porting your application on top of it. So coming to NetMagic as a company, so I'll just spend about 2-3 minutes on this. So it talks about technology sophistication and the time to deploy, right? Public cloud has a lot of technology. So the public cloud is the infrastructure service I'm talking about. Today, you can get servers, you can get load balancers, firewalls, storage, you can get block storage, like a SAN, virtual SAN, and a virtual NAS. Apart from that, you also get an object storage where you can store your files and for archival purposes and things like that. So Simply Cloud, we call it Simply Cloud, that's our marketing. But so that's the easiest to deploy, because today you can go to a website, swipe a card, take the number of instances, and it will be up and running in a couple of hours, probably less than that. More time spent, in fact, in understanding, know your customer, because we have stringent know your customer norms. We have to ensure that the infrastructure is not used for malicious applications, for perpetuating sensitive events. So we have to be careful. So today there are a lot of things involved where the backend we have to do certain cursory checks on who is using the infrastructure. Cloud in a box, again, all this thing where cloud, people talk about cloud, so everything that gets sold today has to have that cloud connotation. So even hardware vendors today will give you a server or a couple of servers with virtualization and the orchestration layer bundled. They'll call it cloud in a box, right? So which means it will allow you to go up to some 50 or 100 VMs across 1 or 2 boxes. And then private cloud is, of course, using the concepts of public cloud, but having it delivered only for one customer in a multi-tenancy environment versus a single-tenant environment. Private cloud today can exist in one's own data center, or it can exist in a third-party data center. Hybrid cloud I've already talked about, private versus public, where you burst into the public cloud from the private cloud. And then enterprise DC consolidation, even today even any virtualization project is also called as a private cloud. So if just listen to me, is that anybody calling cloud, even virtualization today is called as cloud. So we don't know truly how many people have adopted cloud, but even virtualized environments are also called as private clouds. And then DR and cloud. Ultimately, everything resides in highly available data centers, right? Today, data center provide you minimum guarantee of 99.99% uptime. We have a data center in Chennai, and I am sitting out of the Chennai data center. I know the power situation in Chennai. Voluntarily, it's almost 40% cut from a normal thing. So you're running on DGs for a long time, but the people hosted in the data center have absolutely no clue that everything is being taken care for them, right? So today, data centers are the primary nests, I would call it the nest on which cloud services are delivered from. They're very, very important. So if you're choosing your, first you'll have to look at outsourcing your IT, then you look at data centers, and then you look at clouds. That's a very, very good approach to look at. Yeah, that's me. Willing to take any questions you have through email as well, and here as well.
One microphone here.
Yeah, so I will tell you some of my own experiences as well. See, let's say, we are using, I will tell you, for our endpoint security, we are using a security service in the cloud, which is a proxy service, right? So all our endpoints, whether it is a mobile device or anything, the administrative control is with a set of people, internal IT team, so you don't have control over changing certain network parameters. The proxy server is on the cloud, so which means whatever you browse will go through that thing which is somewhere in the cloud. So whether you are in India, whether in the US, it doesn't matter, right? The policy will be enforced as you want. Okay, so that's one service that they talk about. Another thing that we also used was our sales automation on the cloud. What we realized, as LS was talking about the fixed options, since it's a multi-tenant environment, what might happen is if you've not thought through your requirements, workflow, everything carefully, and then evaluated the service provider, suppose you've not thought through and you've realized that you missed something, and you want that feature to be added on one of these services that you've taken, which is a multi-tenanted application, which means the same set of infrastructure is being used by multiple people, they will not be able to provide the feature quickly, because adding something could break millions of users. So we realized that the time taken to churn out new features was very, 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 very high. Okay, so they will take the request, they'll have to go through tremendous regression testing before they are able to deliver that particular feature. So when you are taking this generalized application, whether it's HRMS or CRM or sales automation, you may have to know exactly what you want, look at whether the service provider is currently offering, and then go ahead. If you go ahead and then say, oh, I'll look at it later, it may not happen quickly because they will have take their own sweet time to deliver new features. When it comes to infrastructure as service, it's very simple, right? Today, what's happening is the cloud, that's what I was talking about cloud, is adoption of cloud is more from convenience perspective than from the true benefits of cloud. What is convenience? Servers getting delivered after 4 weeks. I have to load the application, just go live. So when a new test and development or a new project is going to go live where you're not expecting too much load, you can look at cloud, right? I mean, the contract period is also small. If I look at infrastructure service on a physical environment, the contract period is generally the amortization period, right? I might have amortized the cost over a period of 2-3 years. So the contract will force him to be stuck with you for some time. So with the virtual thing, the offering is, it's a month-on-month basis. You can choose your add more memory, CPU, kinds of things. You have, again, the standard combinations, right? You have a small instance, large instance, medium instance. You can add your storage. You can have more bandwidth at your disposal. You can use all of this during a test and development and a project, a greenfield project. Once you're satisfied, you can then still choose either to go the cloud way or the dedicated way. It doesn't matter, right? So you have those options. Any short-term things, any campaigns, for example. Auto major is launching a new vehicle. You know, they may want to create a new domain for that particular duration, like an IPL. It's only for 2 months in a year. So they will have these applications running only for that duration. They pay for the time and then they don't use it at all. Educational institutions, when the results have to be published, the results is only once in a while. So, but during that time you need a lot of resources, right? So we have customers on those fronts as well.
That's all we have time for. Thank you so much for that wonderful speech. May I request you to accept a token of our appreciation from us.